Alright, so this person asked a very good question. What are the mechanics of a Tom Thumb bit? Because everybody says they're bad, but nobody really explains or says why. So the intended use of this bit was a step up from a snaffle for someone who needed a little bit more than a snaffle, but they didn't want to go to a full curve bit, so this was supposed to be the nice option. However, it ended up being one of the worst bits ever made. This video may be a little lengthy because I'm not just going to talk about the mechanics. I'm going to try to hit the most important points on top of that, and I also want to preface this video with a few things. So first and foremost, in my opinion, this is a Tom Thumb. Some people would argue that simply because these shanks are curved and longer, whereas a traditional Tom Thumb, the shanks are completely straight up and down. In my opinion, this bit shares every single characteristic of a Tom Thumb besides that. So to me, it's still a Tom Thumb. They're even still labeled that. The second thing I want to mention is this is not a snaffle bit just because it has a single joint in the middle. So ideally, snaffle bits can have any single mouthpiece in the world that you can think of. This right here is the mouthpiece, what goes in the horse's mouth. These are the cheek pieces, which show on the outside of the horse's mouth. So this can have a million different variations. The definition of a snaffle is to have a 1-to-1 direct ratio. This does not because it's a leverage bit. So for example, this is a snaffle. This is a snaffle, and this big ring is where you connect your rein to, so there's no leverage there. You're directly pulling on the horse's mouth. This is also another snaffle. This is not a snaffle because you have these shanks on the sides, and your rein connects to here. This is a leverage bit, not a snaffle, because your rein connects to here, so all of this is leverage. All of these are also leverage bits. Again, your rein connects to here, your rein connects to here, your rein connects to here, your reins connect to here, here. This is all inside of the horse's mouth. These rings are what's showing on the outside. When you pull the rein, you have a 1-to-1 ratio of direct pressure. When you use a rein on a leverage bit, you're not getting that 1-to-1 direct pressure. You're actually getting maybe 4 times that pressure. And notice how none of my snaffle bits have a single broken joint in the middle like the Tom Thumb does, yet they're still considered snaffles. So the reason Tom Thumbs are so horrible is because whoever designed them did not have the horse's mouth anatomy in mind whatsoever. The issue with the Tom Thumb is the shank. So again, normally they have completely straight up and down shanks, which would make this like 10 times worse. So this curve adds a little bit of pre-signal and makes it a little bit better, but it's still a crappy bit nonetheless. So this is the purchase of the bit where you connect the headstall. This is the mouthpiece. This is the shank where you connect the rein. So ideally, when you're using a leverage bit, you want to have a curb chain to prevent over-rotation of the bit. So the Tom Thumb has created its own specific slot for the curb chain, which is incorrect. Your curb chain should be in the same spot that your headstall is. Here's an example of my level 2 miler. You see the headstall. This is the curb chain that prevents the bit from over-rotating in the horse's mouth. It's not meant to be painful or to hurt the horse. It makes the bit work correctly. And it's connected to the same spot as that headstall. That's the only way that the curb chain can properly do its job. So that, in combination with the shanks that are able to completely swivel around, in combination with the broken mouthpiece, a lot of people say that when you pull back on both reins, this will nutcracker in your horse's mouth or collapse on their jaw like this. And there is just a million different pinch points on this bit. So the mechanics of this bit allows this bit to be painful and pinchy even when it's just sitting idle in your horse's mouth, when there's no pressure on the reins whatsoever, literally just sitting idle. The rare buckaroo, I watched her video about it. She says it sits in the mouth quite literally like this. Instead of laying flat how it should, it is constantly sitting at a little bit of a curved angle at all times. On top of that, it sends conflicting signals to your horse. You may be pulling right, but this side is also telling the horse to move left, and it's very conflicting, it's very pinchy. And because of this curb chain slot, because of the mouthpiece, because of the shank, there's literally zero pre-signal on this bit, which is usually what you want in a leverage bit. If we compare it to a regular old grazing bit, this has a mullen mouth with a low port, very comfortable for the horse's mouth. It has a short shank, and it also, even though it's short, it still has a slight curve to it, which allows for pre-signal. And notice how there isn't a curb chain slot. So some people hate these, some people love them, but this is a Mylar bit. They have this kind of signature mouthpiece to them. They're supposedly allow for tongue relief. These are the shanks. These are a lot more anatomically correct, a lot more comfortable for your horse if you're looking to ride in a shanked bit. These are around $200 bits though. One other thing to point out is that just because a bit has a straight shank or has a curved chain slot does not automatically make it a tom thumb. Tom thumbs have this specific look to them that you won't really see in other bits. Like this bit also has a curved chain slot, but this is nowhere near a tom thumb. And a lot of the Tennessee walking horse bits or bits that they use in saddle seat have a straight shank to them, but those are not tom thumb bits. And the last thing I want to talk about is there's a lot of confusion because when you Google tom thumb, you get all kinds of different results. And you might end up finding something like this that is labeled as a tom thumb. So, funny story, the girl that argued with me on Facebook said that this isn't a tom thumb simply because it's curved, and just because it's labeled as that on the stores doesn't mean it's correct, because she used this as an example of incorrectly labeled tom thumb. However, this is what's considered a tom thumb in the UK, so it's a little bit different. A lot of people don't know that, and I just recently learned this. I had no idea that the UK had their own version of a tom thumb. Either way, my opinion is, throw this away or use it as a toilet paper holder. There's no reason. These are $20 to $30 to $40 bits. Absolute waste of money. I bought this bit, and I wish I never did, but guess what? I get to use it as an example now of what not to use.